Gen Z males are turning away from Donald Trump, but are not aligning with the Democratic Party either, and expressing frustration with both sides per Atrioc. So I will admit I didn't go crazy to find what the hell Atrioc was, but it's some sort of source. However, I don't necessarily want to get into this for the sake of whatever polling they did that probably comprised 200 people, all this type of thing. I think it's an interesting. I talk about the Democratic Party brand, and I talk with a lot of friends and whatnot, and even the guys on the living joke, where I talk about the Democratic Party and the in fact I was having this conversation today. The Democratic Party brand is extremely toxic, and that is for several reasons. But the biggest one is that the Democratic Party over the last decade has been very focused on decentering men. It has been very focused on centering minorities and women to the detriment of men, but particularly white men. And the Democratic Party, for better or for worse, has gotten, as part of its brand and part of its story, has been linked to some of the most absolutely crazy people on the far extreme left, in a way that the GOP never gets linked to the far right in the same way. And so it's not surprising. I mean, given what's going on and given what's happening, it's not surprising that some Gen Z dudes may be turning away from Trump and MAGA and all this type of thing. I mean, let's look around. It's been 9 months. What do they have to show for their votes last year? Not much. 58% of last year's graduating class can't find a job. And that loops back around to some stuff about 2008 America's Lost Generation. We'll come back to that. But it is not a surprise there. And I understand why they're not necessarily fleeing to the Democratic Party either, because that's already problematic. And one of the things that I think we didn't think about in the Democratic Party and didn't think about in the progressive movement over the last 10 years is in all the messaging and in all the crazy things that were said, crazy things that were posted, the end of rape culture, the Me Too movement, all this type of thing, is what type of messaging young people with very little experience and no context were hearing when those things were said. And what a lot of young men heard was, "You are the problem.